What is the cost of living in Virginia Beach? My name is Dan Inman. I'm your local realtor and guide here in the coastal Virginia area, and you're watching the Living in Coastal Virginia channel. Let's start off by talking about national averages, right? It's just easier when you're looking at like on the whole, including housing, utilities, groceries, and all of it. And what you'll actually find is that Virginia Beach is just a hair above the national average at 106%. But if you're looking at this in comparison to some of the major cities along the East Coast, or even what are some of the major cities that people move from, say San Diego or New York or Richmond or Alexandria, Miami, some of these major markets, we actually are overall cheaper than those. By the way, if you're super nerdy like me and you love analytics and data, there are two great websites to check out that will go way more in depth than we are going to do on this video. It's citydata.com and datausa.io, and they have this really cool heat map where you can look at things like unemployment, population density, or even the housing cost per area. Virginia Beach is actually one of the most populous cities in the nation. I think we're ranked at 39, so we're not things like New York City where it's absolutely enormous, or Los Angeles, but we were also ranked the safest large city in the nation last year. I believe that's a population of 300,000 or 400,000 people or more. Virginia Beach last year was somewhere in the range of like 450,000 to 475,000. So let's do a dive into some of the major categories that are cost of your household budget. And one of those is just utilities. Compared to the national average, we're actually a hair bit lower. That's 97.1%. But really this is going to come down to a couple of key factors. Obviously you have water, you have gas, which has gone up with inflation recently. But when you're looking at heating and cooling your home, you have like the size of the home, you have the efficiency of the units that you're using, you have how cool or hot you like to keep your home in the winter and summer months. And every now and then you probably have a classic dad moment, just like me, where you're yelling at the kids to shut the door and ask them if they were raised in a barn.
Camilla, can you please shut the door?
This is especially true during the summer here because it is extremely humid during the peak summer months. Sean, would you agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely summer. I mean, you open that door and it's like a wave of humidity, almost like a blanket that hits you right in the face. So again, you want to make sure that your home is very efficient. All those weather seals are done properly. And if you have, you can probably go through and do an audit on your house to see how actually weather tight it is. A few notable mentions here is a lot of the new home builders in the area, Chesapeake Homes, Ryan Homes, Stephen Alexander Homes, put a specific emphasis on energy efficiency in their homes. So if you're looking for a home, say built in the 1970s versus the home built in the 2000, 2010, 2020 and beyond, you're probably going to, for the same square footage, have a much lower utility bill in those newer construction homes. Next, let's talk a little bit about transportation costs. And one of the main benefits of Virginia Beach over any surrounding city that's in the area is that you really don't have any tolls or like bridges or tunnels that you have to go through. The majority of people that live in Virginia Beach don't have to go to Chesapeake or Norfolk or Portsmouth or Williamsburg, Newport News to get to work. It's actually one of the lowest transportation times in the area, which is going to reduce overall things like your tolls. If you have to travel, let's say for work outside of the area, you're definitely going to want to pick up an easy pass here. It's going to reduce your overall cost to at least half, maybe even a third. The overall traffic for the area, if you look at our Virginia Beach traffic video, one of the things that we explore here is what is the traffic in this area versus others, right? And what we found here is that even at peak traffic times, you're probably only going to be sitting there for about an extra 10 to maybe even 15 minutes during peak traffic times, which is not anything compared to places like DC or Los Angeles. So maybe that overall drops your cost of living because on the health side, you don't have all that stress in your life. Now, according to a couple of major websites that are out there, it shows that our eating out costs are about the same as the national average. But sometimes this doesn't really do it justice, right? Because if I'm gonna go to McDonald's in one area versus another, it's probably pretty close. But let me give you actually a real world example. Chipotle, you know it, I love it. So my double chicken, white rice, black bean fajitas, guacamole, cheese, and sour cream with corn salsa and regular salsa, that comes out to a total of $17.45. That includes my chips and my Coke Zero. Now, obviously, I don't have to pay tip on that, which is fantastic, But if you're gonna go out to lunch, you're probably gonna be somewhere between 50% and 100% higher than that. Let's say that you go out to a local restaurant, you're probably gonna be somewhere in the range of $20 to $35, including tip on just yourself going out. So yes, those costs are rising. What's really interesting here is I've found that there are a bunch of restaurants, one specifically that was mentioned down in Florida, where they're actually making the tip absolutely mandatory to be at 20%. The main reason is if you know some of the labor shortages that are going on there, it's getting really hard to keep people employed or staying at there. And so to keep talent on board, you have to pay them. You know, Virginia Beach really does have a ton of great options to eat. Norfolk, Hampton Roads, as in general, has, I would say, probably some of the best selections of food that I have seen in a long, long time, in a wide variety of that, but that's gonna be for another video. But I wanna kind of give you an idea of what is it gonna cost if I go out to, let's say, a birthday party, or I'm gonna celebrate somebody's promotion, or a major event in someone's life. So let's go out to a place like the Butcher's Son. So really you're gonna be looking at something along the lines of, you know, $12 to $16 for appetizers, $15 to $35 for your main course, $10 or so for dessert if we're gonna make it full well-rounded here. You end up rounding that out and you're probably gonna be somewhere between $50 to $90 per person without including tip. Now again, that can be hefty, but again, if you're gonna go out for a super quality restaurant like the Butcher's Son, that's what it's gonna cost you. All right, so we talked about eating out. What does like the actual grocery bill look like if we're gonna do most of our eating at home? With some of the inflation that is happening around the world and specifically in our nation, I'm sure that you are no stranger to the increases at the grocery aisle. But you shouldn't see too much of a difference if you're moving from out of the area to the area because, again, according to most major websites, our area is just on par with the national average. Of course, we have every major option available here. I mentioned Aldi and Lidl, check. If you want Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, check. If you're a Kroger or Harris Teeter, we have those. And if you're a doomsday prepper and or just like tons of inventory, you can go to BJ's, Costco, or Sam's. Let's roll right into taxes and what those look like here versus everywhere else. If you go into Google and type in Virginia Beach taxes compared to the average, you'll see that statewide, we're right there in the middle. I think we're number 25. Virginia Beach has a few little taxes that they don't have in other areas, but our real estate taxes are actually pretty reasonable. Virginia has a income state tax range of 2, 3, 5, and 5.75% depending on your income level. Your state tax overall remains pretty constant at 5.3% in the year 2022. And they haven't yet officially changed the property tax or the real estate tax. They're looking at increasing those because of some flood mitigation things that they're trying to do in the area. But as of right now, Virginia Beach is still the lowest at 99 cents per $100 assessed, which ends up being about 1%. So if you own a $500,000 house or buying a $500,000 house, you're looking at about a $5,000 a year tax bill. A quick note here on taxes, we do have a grocery bill tax of 1.5% and a gas tax of 26.2 cents per gallon. Glenn Youngkin, who has come into office, is looking at suspending the gas tax and completely eliminating the grocery tax. So hopefully over here in the next year, you'll actually see a decrease in both of those expense items. Now, obviously, if you're looking at public schools, Virginia Beach has a wide variety of excellent options, and the great part there is that your property taxes are paying for that, so it's not an additional expense item. However, if you're looking for private schools, Virginia Beach has a variety of options that are excellent to look at. Let's start with preschool and daycare. One of the things, if you're moving from out of the area, that you definitely should look at, this is going to be anywhere between $100 and $200 a week per child, is that those get booked up very quickly in advance. So you would probably want to start looking 2, 3, 4, 5 months, maybe even 6 months in advance of moving here to make sure that they have a slot if that's something that you must absolutely have. Many of these services provide a military or first responder discount, so make sure to ask about that. Now, the average private tuition for Virginia Beach is right around $8,000, but if you're looking for the highly prestigious schools in the area, and there are a few that are highly competitive to get into, they charge near college tuition level prices. But hey, if you want the best of the best for your kids, is there a price that's too high? Hey, if you're looking at buying or selling a home here in the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area, our team is standing by and ready to serve you and your family. All of our contact information should be on the screen now, and there is a contact or link down in the description to jump right into our calendars. See you soon. Now let's talk about what generally is the highest proportion of everyone's budget: housing. It's no secret that in 2021 we saw some of the highest appreciation and rental increases because that happened to everyone across the nation. and Virginia Beach was no different. The average condo or townhome in Virginia Beach rose about 11% to $282,000. The average single family home in Virginia Beach rose about 13% to $465,000. If you're looking for something along the waterfront, this would include detached, so condos and townhomes, and also waterfront homes. I mean, you're gonna be paying to play here. It's gonna be around $600,000 to $700,000. Anything with 1 acre or more averaged this last year about $900,000. Now, granted, this is mostly gonna be waterfront single family homes along the water, because those are the ones that can, you know, they have much larger lots. But if you go to South Virginia Beach, there's still a lot of homes down there that have larger than 1 acre. And again, the average is somewhere in the range of $800,000 to $900,000. New construction, all of 2021 averaged out right around $600,000, and anything with an in-ground pool was right around $700,000. Now, there are gonna be plenty of options in Virginia Beach below $400,000 if you're really wanting to get out there. You know, maybe you have to make some compromises on space, or you've got something with a little elbow grease, a little TLC that's needed, but those options do exist. Now, what's interesting about our area is we have a ton of active military. I think the latest projections were right around 83,000, which makes up a big portion of our income for the area. But if you go and you look up the BAH, which is the basic allowance for housing, the amount that they increased from 2021 to 2022 was only about 3 to 4%. For the housing in general went up almost 13%. For renting almost went up about 13%. So whoever's in charge there about, you know, making the appropriate budgeting increases, you're off by about 10%, man. Got to do a little bit better for our heroes out there. Now, if you're looking at the difference between rent and purchasing in today's interest rates, we're going to look at what does it cost to rent a 1, 2, 3, 4 bedroom home, and what would the equivalent look like if you were to go out and purchase at the same monthly cost. Now, if you're looking at a 1 bedroom apartment or studio apartment, you're probably going to be looking at around $1,285. This purchase is about, in today's interest rates, about $215,000 to $235,000. We're going to be looking at probably a 5% conventional loan product or a VA loan. That's why those variances are in there. That saw about a 7% increase just in the year 2021. If you're looking for a 2-bedroom place, that's going to be around $1,448, $1,450. This purchase is about $240,000 to $260,000. That saw about an 8% increase year over year. If you're looking at a 3-bedroom home, this is going to be running on average about $1,800. This purchase is about $305,000 to $330,000. In last year, that saw a 13% increase. That's pretty wild. But what's even wilder here is a 4-bedroom home. A 4-bedroom home average last year was $2,500. This purchase is about $410,000 to maybe even $450,000. So it's actually a pretty good budget. And this is one of those categories where it's like, hey, if you're gonna be in the area for 3, 4, 5 years, it's definitely gonna make sense to go ahead and put that money into a purchase over renting. But this is one of the wildest categories. Rent-wise, you saw a 21% increase year over year on the cost. Now, we have an incredible offer that we offer here at Inman Home Services along with my wife. If you end up using us to help buy your next home, we provide an 18-month VIP buyer guarantee. The details of that is down below in the description, but effectively, if you don't love where you live for the first 18 months, we'll help you turn around and sell it for free. Now, Virginia Beach was actually voted last year as the largest safe city in America. That's pretty amazing. And it really does have a lot to offer when it comes to, in comparison to other expensive cities. We have the coast, we have a lot to do, we have a lot of great options to go out to eat. Yes, we've seen wonderful appreciation here the last 2 years in our market, but if you are concerned on where the housing market is actually going, we did a video on this and the link is right here.